So for example, for -6 here, let's go ahead and do this one together. Let's write down our equation. I'm going to write it next to this. And you'll want to write kind of small because you're going to do a lot of work here. My equation is -x². So give yourself a blank set of parentheses for that x. Put a minus out front and a square on it. Plus 6x minus 5. And for the first entry in our table, we are going to put what in place of those x's? -6. And then we're going to work out what that ends up being. All right, so we'll leave the negative alone for right now. What is -6²? -6 times -6 would be +36. And then I've got +6 times -6. So a positive times a negative is going to give me a minus. 6 times 6 is 36. And then we've got -5. And that's a whole lot of negatives again. -36 minus 36 is -72. -5 is -77. Thank you for the mental math. And that gets us our answer for that one. Woohoo! One done.
The first part would be a +36.
Great question. Thank you for the question. So the question is, we're second guessing this negative here, and it's always good to double check when you got this many negatives in a problem, because that's when mistakes happen. So to begin with, focus on what's in the parentheses, right? If I focus on what's in the parentheses and I take a -6 and square it, I'm gonna multiply 2 copies of -6 together, right? -6 times -6 would give us a +36. So you're absolutely right, it is a +36, but there's a minus in front of it that came down with it. Thanks for the question. Great question. All right, so we got one down, and looks like we got 12 more of these problems to do. Or wait, have we already done another one also? What do we do up here? That is the same equation, isn't it? It's the same equation. I kind of tricked you into doing one of these already. So where am I going to put the -32 in my table? Next to, well, what did I plug in here? I plugged in -3 here, so we've already got this one done. Woo! All right, we're going to divide and conquer here. Could I get, pay attention here, could I get this row right here to do the -5? I'd like this row right here to do the -4. We've already done the -3. This row here is going to do the -2. Y'all are going to do the -1s, 0 the heroes, and positive ones over hero. Yes, did say that. All right, go ahead and do those. If you need a hint or a little bit of help getting it set up, I'm more than happy. I'll give you your first step. Everybody should be writing this down right now, regardless of what your number is. Everybody should be writing that down. Write down the equation without the x's, and then fill in the number that I assigned to your row and simplify it. Watch those negatives. Sure can. You sure can. If anybody finishes, let me know. I'll tell you how you did, and I'm going to assign you another one. All right, give me a sec. You're too quick for me. Good. Did you do 2 for me? Finish? Pass this up here. Anybody else finish? You had -2 and your answer and 5. What'd you get? You got 0, you had 1, right? You got an answer 0. That's great. Could you do 6 for me, please? You were doing 0, right? Yeah. Oh, you were. Sweet. Pick another one. Any other one that you haven't done yet, try it. If you did, I'll tell you what, for those of you who have the 0 and the positive one, I recommend you try it. Do one of the negatives again. All righty. Or question? Yes. What did I ask you? 2 and 3. Right. You got an answer? What was your input? What was your X? You guys are good at this. I'll tell you that it's really easy to make mistakes on this, especially when you're got a lot of minuses in the problem and you're putting a negative number into it. Well, folks are kind of finishing up. I want to find something and show you on the computer here. Actually, I'm going to wait and show you this in just a moment. All right, wherever you're at right now, if you've had a chance to substitute in some values and get an answer for it, that's great. I'm going to go ahead and write down my answers. Actually, they're technically not mine. I let my calculator do the work for me. Does anybody have one of these graphing calculators? All right, so let me show you. So one neat thing about these graphing calculators is you can just type in an equation and tell it you want a table, and it'll give you all these numbers for you. So, and these are the numbers that you came up with. So check and make sure that you did yours correctly. We had -60 for -5, and I had several people in that row get that. -4 ended up giving us -45. Folks, hey, I need your attention. Stop the chatter. Make sure you're getting these numbers down because I'm going to be moving this page up in a second. And you're going to need them for what we're doing next. -2 gave us -21. -1 gave us -12. 0 gave us -5. 1 gave us 0. 2 gave us 3. And then 4, 3, 0, -5 to wrap it up. Five goes to 0 and 6 goes to -5. It kind of, after 3, it kind of repeats itself but backwards. And this is pretty typical with this type of equation. We'll do that. Scrolling down, folks, scrolling down. There's the rest of it. You see what I mean by it sort of repeats itself here? I haven't done any work for number 7 yet, and it's not on our table, but I can tell you what it would be just by looking at the pattern. Can someone tell me what 7 would have been? It would have been -12. See how, like, if I go from here and I go up, it goes 4, 3, 0, -5, and if I go down, it's the exact same numbers, 4, 3, 0, -5. That pattern will continue. My next one here will match this one. If I were to keep going, next it would give me -21 and -32. I don't know. It just happens with these types of equations. All right, we need to graph this. We got time to do that. Yes, we do. Don't worry about it. Bell rings. All right. So our first point is -6 comma -77. Am I going to be able to fit a point with a y coordinate of -77 on this graph? No. So we're going to skip that. In fact, what's the first one that we can actually graph? 0 and -5. So let's go ahead and graph that. Yeah, you don't have to ask permission. The pass is here. Just take the pass and make sure you sign up. The time is 8:15. So 0 comma -5 is the first point that we can actually get on here, just because -12 is not going to fit on this graph. It only goes down to -10. So, all right, and then 1 comma 0, and then 2 comma 3, and then 3 comma 4. 4 comma 3, 5 comma 0, 6 comma -5. Graph those points carefully and then connect them with a smooth curve. Ooh, got some wobbles in there. Now, would that graph keep going down on both sides, do you think? I think so too. So it's going to go past this point and keep going down. And I'm going to draw some arrows to indicate that it would keep going down forever and ever. All right, this is a special type of equation. We're going to be talking a little bit about this throughout the year. And then in our very last chapter, we'll focus on these types of equations. And you're going to spend a whole bunch of time in Algebra 2 looking at these types of equations. Does anybody know what these types of equations are called? It starts with a Q. They're called quadratic equations. That's not super important. This is important though. Does anybody know what we call the shape, this kind of U-shaped graph that it creates? It starts with a P. Say it again. Yeah, that's it. That's it. I think you were right. Did you say parabola or parabola? I know you did. I thought I heard someone over here say parabola or parabola or something like that. Yeah, this is called a parabola. Write this down. Parabola. Comes up a lot in math when you've got an x squared in an equation. It's called a parabola. Sometimes the parabolas are going to open upwards and sometimes they're going to open downwards. I would say this is a parabola opening downwards. So we're going to label some important parts of this parabola and introduce some vocabulary terms. We're going to do this right on the graph, and then we'll transfer that information to the bottom of the page here in a second. So you got parabola opening downwards written down on your page. Awesome. All right. Can you see that this parabola has symmetry? If you were to fold it over top of a certain line, it would match up with itself. So go ahead and draw that line in here. I'm drawing it as a dashed line on my page. And that line has a name. It's called the line of symmetry. Go ahead and label that line your line of symmetry. Line of symmetry. That line has an equation. The equation of that line is x equals, anybody want to tell me the number that I'm going to put after this? Take a guess. 3 is correct. X equals 3. Do you see where we're getting the 3 from? That's where it crosses the x-axis, right? X equals 3 is our line of symmetry. Next up, we're going to talk about the x-intercepts. Can you identify the x-intercepts on this graph? We got an x-intercept here and here. X-intercepts. How about a y-intercept? Is there a y-intercept on your graph? Let's label that our y-intercept. That's an important point. Make sure you're labeling these, folks. And then there's a point called a vertex. Anybody want to guess where the vertex would be? What do you think? At the top? In this case, it is at the top. The vertex of a parabola is where it turns around and at the other direction. So this would be our vertex. That point is also special because it's an extreme point to the graph. Is it the highest point on the graph or the lowest point on the graph? So we're going to also call it a maximum. Because it's the highest point on the graph. And the only thing we're missing is a minimum. What is the minimum? What is the lowest point on the graph? Trick question, by the way. It would keep going down forever and ever, so there is no minimum. Good. All right, so on a test, you're going to graph these things, and then you're going to describe the graph, and we're going to do that down below here. So the line of symmetry, and I can't show everything on the screen at once, but we wrote down that the line of symmetry was x equals 3. Can you add that down below? This next part's really important. In this class, when I ask you for intercepts, I need a point. Intercepts are a point. They're not just a number, they are points. One of our intercepts is at 1, 0. That is the coordinates of, see if I can show this, of this intercept right here. That's 1, 0. What is my other intercept? X-intercept. 5, 0. And you'll find that x-intercepts will always have a 0 for the y value. That makes sense, right? Because if it's on the x-axis, it's always going to have 0 for the y. Give me the coordinates for the y-intercept. Ooh, you guys are good. 0, -5. How about coordinates for that vertex? 3, 4. And if I ask you for the coordinates of the maximum, it's the same point, so it would have the same coordinates. And what are we going to write for minimum? None. There is none. Right. This is what I wanted to show you a second ago. This is the test from last year. I want to show you that last year we asked students to make a table from an equation. Does that look familiar? Looks a little bit easier than what we did, right? And definitely not nearly as long of a table. All right. Do we feel like we could accomplish this if I tested you on this in, say, 3 weeks? Probably will. And this, now check this problem out. In this one, the table is complete, and you just got to graph it. And you can pull that off. All right. And wait, there's more. Where is it, though? And in here, I've got a graph for you, and you have to describe it. Now, when you describe it, you're going to say things like, has a line of symmetry x equals 3, has an x-intercept at 0, 1, has another x-intercept at 5, 0, 5, did I see 0, 1? Has a y-intercept at 0, 1, x-intercept at 1, 0. You see what I'm saying? So basically what we just did, that's like a third of your test that you're going to be taking. Let me get our homework assignment up here. I can tell by the clicking that we're getting close. You guys pack up here. Homework assignments on the board there. It's on Canvas as well. Hey, please do not throw away that sheet that you were writing on today. That needs to come back with you because you're going to be doing some more of those. It's time to go. You don't have time to go to the restroom. Yeah, it's 25 after, but the bell's going to ring in like 1 minute. So just go very fast. Folks, we do not have Eagle time today, so you're going to head straight to your 6th period class. Oops, sorry. Yep, one back. My bad.